Hi everyone, this is Astha and welcome back to yet another session from Cyber Preserve. Today we are going to discuss Microsoft Cybersecurity Protection Built-in Cloud. And to discuss this, we have an expert from industry. He has been in the industry for more than 25 years and has been part of various domains in our IT industry, including cybersecurity. So please welcome Mr. Munesh Ahuja. Munesh has been working as a principal consultant at Confidential, and he is currently working in cybersecurity and IT, and he's going to discuss the rest of the details with you. Hi, Munesh. We are pleased to have you with us today.
Thank you, Astha. And before I actually, get into the discussion, I just hope everybody is safe and taking good care of yourself. This is tough times. But as they say, tough times don't last, but tough people do. And I guess a lot of people out here are part of that community, which loves to fight. And therefore, on a Sunday evening like me, and maybe Sunday morning in a lot of other places, you guys are investing time to learn and understand, more about, what you could do to, look at or to grow your career. So, Asta, thank you first of all to you too. For getting me on this session. I really appreciate it. And I was going through your website, and I was going through about us section, and I found it very, very interesting because that's what I've been doing over the last 10 years in this space, in the management space, is to look at young raw talent and then help them and guide them to do their best in the cybersecurity world. And that's exactly, is what you guys have also been doing. You've been guiding young minds to see, what best they can do, out of their career. So very, very, like-minded thoughts. I'm actually from the other side of the business, which is basically the consumer side. And, there are these consulting folks as well. So quite of, I would say, joining of thought processes out over here. I have a slide deck, and let me just quickly share my screen. And
sounds good. And thank you so much for sharing this brief introduction with everyone. And everyone knows right now situation is not good in India, and really not good, just not saying it. So I hope everyone who has joined us today is safe and their family members are keeping themselves well. And I hope everybody recovers soon. So thank you so much for bringing this up. And I really like that this mindset of ours that we really help guiding people all together. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm really going to say it again and again because there are very less chances when we get like-minded people together. So I'm glad we met. And now the stage is yours. I'm just going to be silent. Okay, please continue.
All right. So, the way I've kind of, build this presentation is keeping in line with what Cyber Preserve does. And I'm going to talk about what Microsoft is doing in the cybersecurity world. And this is the agenda that I have for today. And I'll go a little more deep in terms of what I've been doing. And then at the end of the day, I would want to keep an entire focus on Microsoft. It's not that I want to promote that as a cybersecurity bit, but I feel they're doing so much that I think there's a lot of opportunity for people on this call to understand what's going on there and therefore build a very successful career on the Microsoft platform. So this is what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be sharing some real life experience as well so that we keep this interesting. Before I get down onto the session, Asta, I just want to check, is there a way you have access to the chat session of people? Do I know who are the people who've logged in? What kind of experience do they have? Or can somebody quickly put in the chat box, what kind of experience you guys have? Is that a possibility, Asta?
Yes, it is. They do have access to chat, so they can put things in the chat. So everyone who has joined us today, if you can please put your profiles from where you're joining. So maybe the location of your joining or what you're doing right now. So if you can just add it in the chat box, it would be really good for Munesh to know why you're today.
Yeah, just and importantly, what's your years of experience, so I know exactly, which direction I can take this entire talk to. Do I need to be more techie or just, talk at a 30,000 feet level?
Yeah, I
So
can see everybody has option to chat, put it in chat. So, okay, so I'll put mine as well.
I've opened up the chat screen, so I'm just looking at the chat screen to see if things are changing here.
I hope everybody can listen to us as well, because I see we have a couple of people who have joined us. So I really request everyone who has joined us today to pen down your number of experience or where are you joining from. It would be really great for us to know.
Wonderful. So there are people with 3-4 years of experience is what I can see. 3 years, okay, in college. Nice, wonderful. Great. I think I get the gist. I think there are people with experience, and this is the right kind of crowd that we could share this information, and this could help them to take the career to the next level as well. All right, so I'll jump into my presentation. In case you guys are not able to see my presentation, then please let me know. I will jump in. So yours is exactly the same order that I have written. This is exactly what I am. Honestly, with my daughter at home now, and she's with me also working full time from home. I'm first a father and a husband out here at home. I love long distance running, so that's where keeps me alive. Whatever time I get between my father and the husband duties, then I go down and do my long distance running. Cooking is something that I've really picked up this COVID times. I think I've used this as an opportunity to help my family on the cooking side, and cyber techie is comes in by default. I think that's where I get my bread and butter from. So that's my story. You see a lot of these Microsoft icons at the bottom. Uh, this is something that I've collected, I would say, over the last 6 months, and has opened up a lot more doors for me. So just as a profession, Asta mentioned that I'm a principal consultant at Confidential. So Confidential is not a name of a company, but it is just that LinkedIn gives you an opportunity to not put a name of a company and keep it confidential. So that's what the confidential means out over there. And what I do is I am a principal consultant, where I'm helping a lot of service providers and clients to help them govern their cybersecurity or help them kind of manage their digital assets in the cloud. So that's what I do for a living. I have quite a few clients, where I'm part of the cybersecurity committee, and there are quite a few clients where I'm even advising them in terms of what are the different products that they should look at. 25 plus years of experience. I would say my majority of my experience has been on the other side of the table, where I've actually bought services. But over the last couple of years, I've moved onto the consulting side and now provide those services to large corporations. So that's my background. Let me move further in terms of what is happening in the current world. So we all know, this is what COVID has basically done to the entire industry. It's basically accelerated the digitization of the entire industry, and now we all live in a connected world. To give you an idea in terms of how the landscape has changed, this is a good pictorial representation of it. So what you see on the picture around is what our erstwhile corporate network used to look like. Okay, so we had everything within the boundaries with the right firewalls, and we had all the desktops inside the office, and we would like any other day walk into office and do our work. And on the right hand side, the small boxes is where you see your mobile devices through which you could go back and connect into your corporate network and access the different resources. So what has changed? What has changed over the last 12 to 18 months? I would say this is what the demand from the customer has been. This is what organizations aspire to be. So what they want to do, they want to engage more and more with their customers. And just to give you a very real life example, the vegetable vendor who sits outside my complex now has everything, getting delivered on WhatsApp. He's created a list of all the stuff that one needs to order, and all you need to go onto the WhatsApp, send him what all you need, and then he will get it delivered. That's the level of digitization that has come into the picture. Empower your employees. As you all know, we are all working remotely. We are all working in our own silos. But at the same time, the organizations want their employees to be more and more powered, and at the same time ensure that there is protection of all the information that is going across. And obviously, from any organization perspective, you need to save costs by optimizing your operations and also bringing in newer and newer products. So, what has this basically led to? This has led to using more and more of digital technology, and SaaS adoption has been the simplest and the most quickest among all the different technologies. Besides the SaaS, there is a number of other technologies that we see growing, which is nothing but your cloud technology. You also have your Internet of Things, basically now getting connected into your corporate network. Effectively, the point I'm trying to say out here is that the perimeter of an organization is moved away from your office perimeter to as a entire universe. I mean, today, if somebody gives me access into their platform, they want to ensure that I'm able to access all the resources. At the same time, I'm also protected, also protecting my information in the digital world. So this is exactly, I envisage a lot of organizations have transformed. And what does this mean for all of us? Well, this means there is data which is exploding, and when data is exploding, organizations are more and more concerned, and they're more concerned about the different regulations that we have, and therefore there is this pressing need to ensure that that first the data is protected, and then we ensure that the compliance is met, and these compliance are across. I mean, today in India, a lot of companies have come and asked me for GDPR consulting. There are some of the US clients that I work with where they are talking about HIPAA confirmations on their network. And of course, the personal data protection bill in India, that's also picking up a lot of steam. What is this leading to for a lot of cloud providers is that they want to ensure that there is localization of all the information that's there in the corporate world. So what are business telling me? So how is the business reacting to all these changes? If I talk to any CISO today, or any security head or any security manager, their concerns are these four basic things. They tell me, listen, I want to ensure that anything that is going in and out of my network from my email, I want to get that thing protected. I don't want people to send confidential data. That's the most simplest way where I can copy all the customer list and then send it across to my personal email ID. Or I can take the entire list of customers, all confidential information, and put it into my personal Google Drive or to my personal Dropbox kind of a thing. That's a concern. The other concern that people tell me is that my entire workforce is now working from home. How do I ensure that they are empowered and at the same time can use their own devices, and that own device has to be patched, and that antivirus has to be installed, and the malware has to be installed. That is very, very important. User credentials. Now, like I said in my the corporate slide, the perimeter has changed. I feel identity is the new perimeter. So what does that mean? What it means is that today, if anybody loses his or her identity, and when I say identity, I mean a password, then it can mean havoc for an organization. The person can either move right by kind of giving privileged access to that ID, or can take data from the organization. I'll give you a very simple example, and this really happened in one of the organizations where a user identity was compromised, and this hacker did a very simple thing. He put up, he or she, I don't know, he or she put up a forward on that mailbox to their personal email ID. and that was about it. The user was not aware what was happening, and all the emails that came to that user was also automatically forwarded to this hacker's email ID as well, and there was all kind of confidential information that was going through. Compliance, we spoke about. Compliance is is now the need of the hour. In India, we have a lot of regulations from RBI, from SEBI. For guys who are not in India, these are the regulatory bodies which look after the banking and the mutual fund industry in India. And it become very, very important to to stay relevant and to stay compliant with these bodies. So these are some of the challenges that people talk to me about, and and we are here as cybersecurity specialists to solve all of them. And what does this mean for the business? For the business to solve all these problems, there are these 1,000 products that are available in the market. And, honestly, it's sometimes mind-boggling to even look at these products. And there are some products which specialize in one and some products which specialize in another. So what does it mean for from a CISO perspective? There are three key parameters, and I'll try and explain this in a more simpler way. So one is this cost of acquisition. So first is understanding what kind of product that I need to fit into my environment, and therefore ensure that we are getting the right return of investment when we buy a product. Now, once the product is bought in, it's not as simple as that, you just deploy it and it starts running on its own. There has to be a complete cost of ownership in terms of ensuring that, the deployment is correct, the operations are run correct, and there is a whole life cycle management on top of it. But the most important, which is the cost of intelligence, and this is where honestly you guys are, the biggest assets for an organization, is to ensure that the right talent is looking at the right product. We don't want somebody who has no expertise, let's say in a SIM product, but somebody who's an expert in vulnerability management, and we're trying them to kind of force fit into the system. That really is not the most optimal way to kind of look at a product. So for me, what is important is that we need to ensure that the talent is right, and the product is right, and then the marriage between the two has to happen correctly. This is a very interesting slide, and I'm not going to go and talk about each and everything, but while it's on the screen, you guys can read it. But I'll tell you very interesting thing that happened in one of my conversations with a customer. So I'm talking normally to the the CISO or the security guy, and in some organizations, they because of the cost, they don't have a dedicated person who is looking into security. So here's a person who's an IT manager who also has a responsibility of looking after security. And when I go and talk to these guys, they don't want to tell me anything about the security, primarily because it increases their work and it actually puts them in a very bad light in front of their management. So this is something that I really realized, is that the IT team will never own up to the issues within the security, and they will never come on and talk about it in the open, and that's really creates a lot of divide between what the management knows about their security and what is the actual thing on the ground. Interestingly, because this we're going to talk about Microsoft a bit, I'm going to just touch upon in some of the scenarios where I was talking to a customer and I told him they had recently deployed M365 in their environment, and I asked them what is their security score. So Microsoft has this very interesting way of measuring what your security is in the network, or how well have you defined your policies and deployed your security settings in the system, and based on that they give you a score. Now, every time I would talk to this IT person, he would never give me the security score out. And then, I realized, because at some point in time, because he had some other issues, I actually requested him to go onto the security score page, and I could see the security score was very, very low. And that was the reason he was not telling me what the security score is in the system, because that would kind of expose, the organization. So it was quite interesting, to understand the behavior and mindset of of the security guys when it comes to of the IT guys when it comes to security. But importantly, you guys need to realize one thing, is that while whatever might be the security scope for an organization, you need to talk to the right people at the right level. And this is something that's come to me with experience, is that, when I talk to people and talk to them at a CRO level, which is your chief risk officer or your chief executive officer, then you see a lot of value coming in the conversations. Unlike, you don't want to be at a transactional level. You want to see, if your security score is at, let's say, 3, for example, 3 out of 10, then how do you move it to 5, 6, and then eventually take it to a 8, 9 kind of a score? That's the conversation that you need to have with people. And unfortunately, in a lot of these security discussions and, a lot of these security dashboards and governance meetings that I have sat through, there is no parameter to measure, where your security is today. And this is where I feel, Microsoft gives us a good platform to, start as a baseline by looking at a security score, and then how we can kind of, grow this further. So very, very interesting conversations that I've been having with the customers in the space. So let's talk about a little bit on how Microsoft is doing this entire thing. Microsoft over the last 2-3 years have been really developing their Azure platform, very strongly. Let me put the context of Microsoft first. So Microsoft has 3 basic platforms. Okay, that's where they get the maximum revenue. First is their the productivity suite, which is nothing but your M365, your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, your Outlook, and this entire thing comes under the productivity suite. The next suite is infrastructure. The infrastructure is where they talk about Azure, and within Azure, then you have your infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and the various SaaS softwares that they give. The third platform that they have is the CRM, which is nothing but your Dynamics 365 is what Microsoft does. And very happy to tell you all that Microsoft has now has a 4th vertical, and the 4th vertical is now security and compliance. That's how serious they are about this entire business. And the reason I'm saying this to you all is that that's where I feel there is a huge opportunity for you guys also to invest your time, learn about these new things, and also go back and implement this at your customer premises. Now, you would be thinking, why is Munesh, talking so much about Microsoft, and what is in it for me? Let me tell you some facts what Microsoft has done when the start of the COVID happened. One of the big things that they did was that they gave away Teams as a software free for 6 months. Okay, and when I say they gave it free, so basically you pay for a year, but for the first 6 months is free, and you pay for the remaining 6 months. What has this led to is that a lot of organizations have now adopted M365 or O365 as a default platform across the corporate. They were pretty slow in getting onto the colleges, but I'm sure now they're going full steam to see how the colleges can also adopt M365. So they have a very separate platform for it. With the dive in, and with the corporates also now accepting Teams and Zoom as a default standard for all the communication, it gives a lot of opportunity for us to kind of learn this technology and help them make it more secure. So by default, if I look at an M365, there are these very basic security settings that come in, but the organizations don't even look at deploying those, because they get it out of the box, and there is no one to help them decide what is the right technology for them. So that's an opportunity which I feel is huge for all you guys. And if you really believe that this is a platform which is going to grow over the next, I personally believe, and therefore you see a lot of certifications in my introduction slide where I've kind of done over the last 6 to 8 months. I believe that this is going to be a huge wave over the next over the next 2 to 3 years. And I'll tell you why I believe in this. One, if you see the adoption of Azure is going up significantly. I keep getting and I keep responding to RFPs where a lot of people are asking, how do I strengthen my security within Azure? So that's a big opportunity. Like I said, adoption of M365, O365 is also really picked up quite well. That's where I see that as the second growth phase for for you guys to learn this and then apply this in the real world. More importantly, if you guys have been tracking the Microsoft earnings call, Satya himself mentioned that a huge, when I say huge, $10 billion worth of revenue came in from security and compliance. Huge opportunity for all you guys to learn again and go back in the real world and start deploying this particular bit. So what does Microsoft do to to help organizations make their entire digital assets stronger? So they work on these 4 pillars. Okay. Identity and access management, threat protection, information protection, and security management. Let me touch base upon each of these in a very brief manner. One, identity and access management. Like I said, it's identity is now the new perimeter. It is very important that anybody who has access to the systems are the right people. They need to be authorized. They need to have the right access. And more importantly, we have to ensure that the identity is protected. So by default, all the Microsoft products now come with a 2-factor authentication, and you could use either the Microsoft Authenticator or the Google Authenticator or maybe the FIDO keys, any of these technology that can be used to help protect the identity. In fact, it goes even a step further. In case it sees that the identity is not from the person which the system expects, then it can have additional conditions before the person can start accessing the system. So huge investment from Microsoft in ensuring that the identity is protected. Threat protection is very important. Nobody, I'm sure everybody on this call will agree that threats are coming in all the time. We need to keep our information protected. We need to have 0-day protection and so on and so forth. So what does Microsoft do? So Microsoft has this very interesting product called Microsoft Graph, where it basically collects trillions of information or signals that come in from all the devices all over the globe and uses this information to protect your digital assets. So let me give a small example. Let's assume a malware is detected in New Zealand now at this point in time, and the Microsoft team will jump onto that particular malware. It'll understand it, and immediately that signature of the malware is then pushed across to all the M365 devices across the globe, which means that India morning when you get up tomorrow, you will already have your systems patched up in real time. So that's the kind of investment that they are doing to ensure that the threat is protected. The other key things that they're doing is they're building in information protection. This is nothing but how do you ensure your DLPs is implemented correctly? How do you ensure your DLPs integrated within your own product? This is where they bring in a lot of value. So for example, in M365, they have this concept called sensitivity labels. And with sensitivity labels, so what I mean is that there is a string that is defined, and that string could be a PAN number or a driving license number or your passport number. And if that string is identified in any of your platform, then it kind of tells the system that this is sensitive information. And if that information is sent across outside your network, then it gets protected. So that's the kind of sophistication that they build into the products. M365 has this kind of functionality built in. So if somebody's trying to copy data on your Google Drive, or somebody's trying to even delete sensitive data from your systems, then this it can send alerts to the administrator. When you have multiple products in the cloud and you have your own on-prem products, you need to have an infrastructure which basically can integrate all of that into a single tool. And that's exactly what security management is all about. Microsoft has a very interesting product called Sentinel. This is nothing but a SIM tool in the cloud, which is very tightly integrated, not only with Azure, but it also integrates with AWS or Google platform. So you can do active threat hunting within the system. I personally use Sentinel It's an awesome product. You can create your playbooks, you can create your workbooks, and not only that, there's a huge community around it, which is helping you build this particular threat and hunt cases into the system. This is a very busy slide, but I think the key thing from this, I would want to tell you guys is that the security is very deeply built into each and every product. There is, like I mentioned, I just want to touch upon. I spoke about conditional access. There is, role-based access control. Very interesting thing that I found in the Microsoft product was the JIT, which is the just-in-time access. So for certain things that I wanted to do with the client, I wanted them to give me access to the global reader on their platform. So, I was wondering, whether they will, first of all, will they agree? But now when I realized that there is a way that I can give reader access only for 30 minutes to an individual, then life becomes much easier for a CISO or for a security officer, because I give access. I know by half an hour the access will go away. I don't have to worry about what I have given, and I don't need to keep auditing my system. So very interesting features that are available in the system. And like I said, these are all very tightly integrated into the platform of Microsoft itself. We spoke about this. There are so many products which are available in the market. I think the beauty of some of the platforms that Microsoft is building is that they've integrated all these things which are required from a security perspective into one product. So you have your threat protection, your cloud security. So cloud security is something that I haven't spoken, but it's a very interesting concept. It helps you to manage shadow IT. It helps you to manage your access control in terms of if your apps, external apps start accessing your your data, then the cloud security can give you all the real-time information in terms of what is happening. And if you classify apps which are not which you think is not safe from your organization perspective, then you can even block them at the gateway level. So very interesting mix of products, very interesting capabilities of the products that you could kind of go through and like I said, this is Satya's own words, and I think that kind of speaks. They want to ensure that everything is now integrated into their product. And I'm telling you, I see this entire organization moving like a security company. They were into productivity. Their M365 Word, Excel, PowerPoint. They made their mark in Azure as well. I think the next wave that's coming in from Microsoft is basically looking at the security and compliance. They have multiple portals which give you a lot of information around security, especially for the products that they deploy. And as you can see from the Gartner Magic Quadrant, they're all way up. I know the slide's not very visible, but you guys can Google it. They are really way up in terms of all the security products that I've been dealing with. So here's something that I think it's you guys can take away from this. These are some of the very latest security certifications that Microsoft has released. I have myself done the SC 900, and the next one that I plan to do is the SC 200. Very simply explained, but it has real great depth. I strongly urge all of you all to have a look at this. I must admit that I also studied for MS 500. I gave the exam as well. I did not clear it, but I learned a lot. That's important because MS 500 is more for a person, maybe for people on the call who said they are 2 years, 3 years, 4 years experience. They are really hands-on. Unfortunately, I am not very hands-on in this on the platform, but I feel people who are hands-on can really pick up these skills much faster and pass this exam. My suggestions to you all would be to look at the SC 900 exam to begin with. Very basic, very primer, will set the base for you guys, and then depending upon what your interest areas are. I'm personally an M365 expert now. I look at M365 security inside out. I have a few MS 500, which is the M365 security platform experts with whom I work and consult with my clients. And very soon, as like I said, as the Microsoft product line starts becoming more and more conversant with the clients, you'll see the requests coming in more and more with people with MS 500 skills or AZ 500. AZ 500 is the Azure security skills. There will be more and more requirement of these skills, within the market. So this is something that I will leave you guys with. This is my last slide, and I'll be happy to take any questions. But guys, I would say watch out. Microsoft is coming very big in the security area, and it's going to be the next wave that everybody will see. That's it from my side. Asta, if there are any specific questions, I'll be happy to kind of take it.
Thank you so much. It was really detailed, and we really like the storytelling that you gave with each of the slides. So that was amazing. Anybody from the attendees, if you wish to ask any question from Munesh, now is the time. So you can unmute yourself and you can ask any questions you wish to. Anyone? We have a lot of attendees. Okay, I have a question for you. You shared all these details. If someone is preparing for these these certifications, so where is the preparation materials? Like, what are the sources they can use to prepare for these certifications if they wish to?
Sure. Good question. The best answer is, first, the simple thing is to Google. And Microsoft's website is very, very self-explanatory. They take you through the entire course material. But what I have done for myself is that, I do the reading on the Microsoft website, 1. 2, then I go to Udemy and, I kind of, go through a course out over there. And if you go to YouTube, there are a lot of people who've kind of shared their videos on security, on MS 900 courses. So there is huge amount of material that's available. But if you were to ask me, I would first go to the Microsoft website. They have given you a complete roadmap in terms of how to pass the certification. I would first read that, go and take a few mock tests on Udemy by buying those tests, and then go and give the exam. I think that's what I would do.
Oh, that's amazing, because sometimes people, they identify what they want to do out of these certifications, but they are really struggling with how to collect the material. And in this manner, they often end up spending a lot of money in buying the resources. So I think this would be a good guidance for them, like where to go and then how to prepare finally and give the exam. So that's really helpful. Saman, Shruti. So Saman and Shruti are also there with us today. Both of them are part of Cyber Preserve. They have been doing a great job with me. And since we started, I forgot, to be honest, to introduce them as well. So Saman and Shruti, do you wish to say something to Munesh, or if you have any questions, you can also ask the same.
Hi, Munesh. I'm really happy, and because I was prepping up for some Microsoft, certification, so it was a good guidance for me. I hail from the identity and access management field, like 4 years into IM. So will it be fine for anybody to, switch up to Azure and then the new certifications, which you just gave a gist of, that is the SC series? So will it be fine, if we just go around with the Azure ones and the SC ones? Will it be fine to take up the certifications, the fundamentals one?
Sure. So what I suggest all the people is to first identify what is your area of expertise. Okay. So, for example, you said you are into identity and access management, and let's assume you do more work on M365 platform. You manage identity and access management on an M365 platform, or maybe Active Directory, but which is on-prem, or it could be an Azure Active Directory. Okay, so there are these multiple platforms that one would look at. Azure Active Directory is now becoming the de facto identity and access management platform for a lot of organizations, and that's primarily because they have invested money in buying a Microsoft product, and the Azure Active Directory comes in as a default. So my suggestion would be that you look at and very basic course for SC 900 and AZ 900, which is basically explains you all about security and compliance in Microsoft, and AZ 900 will explain you all about the Azure platform, the fundamentals of Azure platform. And then after you've completed both the SC 900 and the AZ 900, then you can look at doing the SC 300 course as an expert on the identity and access management platform. So that's the path that I see for you to look at. But let me tell you one more thing. When I started looking at that M365 security, okay, and I spoke about these things. Let me just go back to that slide. No, I spoke about these things: identity and access management, threat protection, information protection, and security management. And then, there was a client who came and asked me, hey, listen, I have a Gmail platform. I have nothing to do with M365. Can you come and tell me and guide me on, what should I do to protect my environment? And listen, people, the fundamentals of security remains the same, whether it's a M365 or a Gmail, or if it's any other email platform that you would want to use. What is important? Identity has to be managed. The threat has to be protected. Your information needs to be protected, and you need to have an overall security management. So when you start looking at a course in Microsoft, that's the beauty. They talk very generic, and then there will be some very specialization in the product itself. Okay, but the first few lessons are always very generic. So that way it will help you to build a more stronger foundation of your identity and access management platform. And then tomorrow, when you're dealing with an organization which has Azure Active Directory, for example, if you've done a course in SC300, it will help you to manage it much more better. But if it's Okta or if it's any other platform, then learning the basic fundamentals is all there in all the courses of Microsoft.
Okay, that was really, really nice. Thanks for the suggestion, and I'll follow this trail. Thank you so much.
I have one more question. Let's say someone is coming from a diverse background. They have a background in identity access management as well, vulnerability management as well, or let's say a SOC background as well. So what series of certifications would you like to suggest to them?
So, you always start off with the SC 900. That's what I, ask all the people to do first and clear up the fundamentals. And, you mentioned SOC. So for me, honestly, SOC relates to SC 200. So that's where all the action is there. So you do an SC 900 and do an SC 200. I briefly spoke about Sentinel as a platform.
Yeah.
Sentinel is covered in good detail in AZ 900. So that's the one that we should look at. And then obviously then there is this whole further deep dive into AZ 500. But in terms of the courses, SC 900, AZ 900, SC 200, and then maybe you could think about an AZ 500, which is a much more deep dive into the Azure Sentinel course. That's the path that I would suggest for this person.
Okay, sounds good, because many times people are coming from diverse backgrounds. So this does make sense. I know a few, so it would be good to let them know as well. Thank you so much. Anybody has any questions? Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I have a question. Hi, Munesh. Hi. Your session was really wonderful. So I have one very basic question. Like right now, I can see the 4 certifications. Like I'm completely a security person, and I mostly want to get into reverse engineering. Like it can be initially I had just thought of as one operating system, but slowly I'm moving towards Microsoft as well. So is there any certification which is covering the reverse engineering parts, also the malware analysis, starting from the very basics, which I can do or something like that?
Short answer is AZ 500. You should look at that course because that has a lot of threat hunting techniques that they've kind of thought about it. And I would suggest, I'm not sure if you've played around with Sentinel as a platform. Have you?
No.
I think that's something that you should invest time in. You should go to the Azure portal and buy a license of Sentinel, the very basic license of Sentinel. and integrate some of your log sources into Sentinel, and then play around with it to really understand the power of the platform. Think from an organization perspective in terms of what all you want to do on the platform, and then decide exactly whether this is the one that kind of interests me or it has to be some other platform. But AZ 500 is the course for you in case you already very deep dive into the security.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'll definitely look it out.
Sure.
Thank you so much. I don't know if many of them have any questions or not, but we do not see. If someone has any question, you can please put them in the chat box if you have any. Anyone? Okay, I think we are good. We can wrap up the session.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Munesh. It was really a detailed one. I think many people who might have not joined us today, but when they'll see the video being published, I think this will really guide them better. So thank you so much for joining us today.